We're here today as part of a wider discussion to try to get students to think carefully about what the impact of the European Union referendum could be for tertiary education and for them in the future as well. The reason why this is important for us is because this will be the first time for most of our students that they will have a direct say in our membership of the European Union.
I'm only doing this because clearly Tim McGarry wasn't available. Hopefully we'll be answering questions like, would leaving the EU have an effect on the price of fish bowls in Magaluf and things? I'm welcome first to the stage from the Open University, Dr. Leslie Budd.
I think the debate so far has been very narrowly focused on budgets and trade. And my concern is that with a Brexit, it reduces opportunities for younger people and their employability over the long term in the UK.
The House of Commons Research Library did a report a couple of years ago when it looked at the impact right throughout Great Britain and the United Kingdom of a Brexit, and it said that whereas trade would be hit by, in a lot of areas of the United Kingdom, it would be harder hit here than anywhere else. Somebody from the PSNI said to me a couple of years ago at the British Irish Association conference, it's hard enough for us dealing with flags and parades and all these other issues, but if they put up border controls, I'm out of here.
What say will we have if we leave the European Union on matters that affect us? We will be outside probably the largest decision-making body in the world. We will be affected by what the European Union does, but what influence, if any, will we have over it?
In 1975, when I took a decision then to vote to go into Europe, I have rethought it. It was a disaster. It was a mistake. There is nothing in our interest to stay in Europe, to be dominated by Germany and France, and to have the wandering hordes of people coming here, coming all over the United Kingdom to access some kind of room where there isn't room.
You as a generation and my generation have lived through a period of peace and prosperity which is literally unparalleled in European history. So for a start off, to start rocking that boat is extremely dangerous. It's absolutely madness in Northern Ireland to start talking about re-erecting borders. It will be catastrophic not only for us internally, but it will set us in a path which is absolutely not necessary.
In terms of the Europe that I would envisage us all benefiting from, what we have is imperfect, of course it is, but there is an opportunity to develop and grow the agenda of a social Europe, and that's where our primary focus needs to be. Don't be told differently. We're net beneficiaries in terms of the funding that we've enjoyed since 1995.
And ultimately, this comes down to, I think, it's a cost-benefit analysis. The cost of us remaining against the benefit that we receive as a country. There are good things that have come from Europe, but there are also negative things. And we have to make a considered and a balanced judgment. When the Prime Minister's package was brought back, the response of John Mann, the MP for Bassetlaw, probably best sums up the response there's been throughout the country to it, which was, is that it? Because the fundamental changes that the Prime Minister promised, not only in the general election, but also since then, have not materialised.
It isn't, and it shouldn't be a nationalist or a unionist issue. It has to be not just about the goodies that we get from Europe, the cargo cult of that. It has to be about the values. It has to be about cooperation. It has to be about free movement of people. And it has to be about, for example, the 30,000 EU nationals that have made Northern Ireland their home and that are making a major contribution and are the backbone of a lot of industries.
I think it was a very good debate today. I think you saw a cross-section of opinions. I think the poll that was done at the end sort of showed that the majority were in favour of staying in the EU, but there was kind of robust and vigorous arguments on all sides. I heard a lot of emotional sort of reaction against the EU, and I think everybody knows that some of the bureaucracy and the red tape needs to be reformed, and I acknowledge that. But I didn't hear a single point of why it would be of benefit to Northern Ireland, beyond those kind of emotional and those kind of questions.
I think the fact that it was so informal meant that actually people were quite relaxed, felt that they could ask the questions that maybe previously they thought were stupid questions, and some of the students from Queen's, for instance, were sitting alongside a couple of MLAs and some people who actually knew what they were talking about, and so I think it gave them the opportunity to talk more openly and honestly about the things they weren't sure about.
I think it was good. It was fairly interesting even for someone like myself who may or may not even really have an interest in politics. And I enjoyed it, yeah, it was very interesting to hear conflicting points of view. Even if you're not that into politics or you're not that clued up on what's going on, it's worth coming to something like this to hear every single opinion, because you probably will hear naturally one that you agree with. So yeah, you should just come along if you have any sort of interest in it, and you'll definitely be in a better position to vote either way.